BCTV's Roland Boyden here, set to welcome you back to another edition of 545 Live from BCTV's 230 Main Street, 3rd floor studios. Now, coming up on deck tonight, we'll get you the story on a close shave for one area resident whose car was struck by a falling tree on Route 9 this week. We'll also catch you up on the Dummerston gravel pit DRB drama, and we'll get you the latest municipal coverage from all around the area, including a Bratt Parks and Rec Committee meeting on the new skate park site, covered bridge woes in Guilford, and much, much more. We'll also throw in some news from a final day for departing Bratt PD leader Gene Wrinn from this very 230 Main Street Municipal Center and Bratt PD offices. All that and more. We're going to do it in 15 minutes or less, so stick with us right here on 545 Live.
Recognize our parents and families. To older siblings, thank you for being role models. To younger siblings, thank you for asking us to be your role models. To parents, grandparents, and guardians, thank you for taking care of us. You, our loved ones in the audience, have made us who we are today.
I would like to specifically thank all the parents for paying for college applications to colleges that you knew we wouldn't get into.
Welcome back to this June 27th, 2014 edition of 545 Live. I'm tonight's host, Roland Boyden, joining you as we look at BCTV's 3rd floor studios behind me. Now, that's taking a look at some footage from this graduation weekend in the area, as BCTV was out to gather on Friday night live for camera coverage of BUHS graduation up at Natowich Field, and then it was off to Townsend and Leland and Gray the very next morning to gather more of that footage. You can find them all at brattleboro.tv.org to stream at your leisure, or catch them with several playouts this coming week. 2 clicks up the dial on our government and education sister channel, Channel 10. All right, we're going to launch into the headlines that I promised you in the opening teaser in just a moment. But first, some big news from right here at BCTV is this week the nationwide public access network, the Alliance for Community Media, announced that BCTV's annual highlight reel had once again taken their highest honor in the ever-competitive category of About Public Access in their annual video competition and festival. That earns BCTV's yearly tribute to each and every one of the programs produced over the course of the year, another gold-stamped plaque, and with it, another excuse for us to play a short segment of the original 10-minute piece right here on 545 Live. Being on staff at BCTV, we get to see people as they're making video when they first start to realize that what they're producing really is very engaging and has value not just to them, but to people all around our community.
Video is a very collaborative process, and without other people really backing me up, I wouldn't have been able to jumpstart my career, and BCTV played a huge part in that.
We just feel extremely fortunate to have this opportunity to work with BCTV. It's a great way for us to get out there in the Brattleboro community.
I just want to thank BCTV for that opportunity of helping me go for the things that I want.
You can find that full 2012-2013 Best of 10-minute highlight reel, award-winning highlight reel from us here at BCTV. It's in the series category for BCTV Highlights, as all decked out on BCTV's brand new website at brattleboro.tv.org. Take a look at it. We'll also post a link to it on our Facebook page following this here broadcast. All right, with that, into the headlines we go, where we'll look no further than this very 230 Main Street Municipal Center, home to BCTV's own downtown studios, also the town offices, and Bratt PD, where today 28-year department vet Gene Wrinn spent his final day serving as the town's police chief. This comes less than a month after his announcement that he would be putting the finishing touches on a long and dedicated career in local law enforcement, prompting this collection of heartfelt wishes from the town's officials, area residents, and more, compiled this week by BCTV volunteer James Vancini to commemorate Wrinn's final day as chief.
Happy retirement, Gene Wrinn!
On behalf of the CPCC, I just want to say, enjoy your retirement, Chief Wrinn.
Happy retirement, Chief Wrinn!
All right, next up, we'll continue in the headlines by heading right into our first split screen of the day, this time in aid of illustrating our Commons News Report, an area news segment built on the work of the reporters at Brattleboro's independent weekly newspaper, The Commons. As that paper fleshes newsstands about the region with new content each and every Wednesday, providing free newspapers to those who so desire while simultaneously offering paid subscriptions for those in the local area who want to help support the paper's work. Now, in addition to picking up a subscription or a free paper at a newsstand, you can head to commonsnews.org. That's where I'm heading as we speak to scan the headlines yourself, or you can take my pick for a headline to focus on, which is an article from Deputy News Editor Randy Holhut entitled Turning Point's USDA Grant Will Let It Return to Downtown, about the Area Addiction Recovery Group looking to move their facility from Putney Road back to the downtown area where they believe they can best serve their client base. This comes on the coattails of a U.S. Department of Agriculture announcement this past week that they'd be sending $430,000 to 6 different states in the form of USDA Rural Development Community Facility grants, and $162,000 of that would come to Turning Point in the form of a guaranteed loan. It's all in collaboration with the Brattleboro Savings and Loan, and it's going to help purchase and renovate a 15-room single-family building downtown at the intersection of Elm, Frost, and Elliott Street. Now, if you want more details on this and other articles from the Commons this week, again, you can head to commonsnews.org as well. All right, we're going to move on now and break down our Reformer Roundup as we check in with Brattleboro's daily paper. And as promised, we'll talk first about their recent article about a tree that fell on a car as it was traveling on Route 5. As a Swansea, New Hampshire man avoided serious injury Wednesday as a tree fell on the vehicle he was driving. Now, New Hampshire Swansea resident Charles Jack had his 2012 Subaru Legacy struck by a falling tree, which caused damage to the rear and front ends of the vehicle and deployed the airbags. But according to the VSP, Vermont State Police report, the presence of a seatbelt helped keep injuries to a minimum. Now, this article from the Reformer, as part of this report, includes a quote from Captain Ray Keefe, who's the commander of the Vermont State Police Troop D. He told the Reformer that incidents like that do not happen frequently. The quote is as read here. As much as this is a rural area, we do not see this very much. Environmental accidents are very rare. We do see it occasionally, but it's more likely when the car is parked. That's our Reformer report, but before we leave the Reformer report for good, we're going to take a flashback to last week and check in with their Tout.com channel. This is where Reformer reporters and photographers can upload short video clips from the field as they report on the go, and that's where we're going to head as well to get our next clip, launch into our Tout.com section of the Reformer Roundup. As this week, new information on a now 13-year-old case involving the disappearance of a Chesterfield mother and daughter drew 6 different agencies from Vermont, New Hampshire, and Massachusetts to the waters just north of the Vernon Dam, where authorities hope a 2-day search will yield valuable information in the form of sonar data.
One search unit is departing for the dam while another returns in search of 2 people who went missing from West Chesterfield, New Hampshire in February 2001. The search involves the state agencies from Vermont, New Hampshire, and Massachusetts.
All right, next up, last week's news that Libyan extremist organizer Ahmad Abu Katela had been captured by U.S. Special Forces in Libya this week during what the Washington Post called a, quote, secret raid, continues to make headlines across the nation, including right here in the Green Mountain State, where area residents, following the work of their representatives in the Washington area, can take note on Senator Patrick Leahy's stance when it comes to Katela's fate. As last week, the Senate's most tenured member took his opportunity before Defense Secretary Chuck Hagel and Chief of Staff General Martin Dempsey to demand that justice for Katela's crimes be dealt in the form of a proper U.S. trial, not an indefinite detention in a CIA black site.
I want to applaud the Justice Department, the FBI, Department of Defense for the capture of Ahmad Abu Katela. I'm also wearing my hat as chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee. I'm glad you're bringing him back here to be tried in our courts. We Americans show we're not afraid We don't have to send these people off to Guantanamo. We can try them in our courts.
Catella is believed to be one of the primary Libyan extremist organizers responsible for the 2012 attack on the U.S. diplomatic mission in the Libyan city of Benghazi that left Ambassador J. Christopher Stevens dead. All right, we'll move on now and harken back to BCTV's own studios for this next story. As Steve Rucroft, a member of CERN, or the European Organization for Nuclear Research, was not only in this country last week, but also in BCTV's downtown studios, no less, as he sat down with the region's own energy aficionados, George Harvey and Tom Fennell, for a very special edition of their weekly BCTV series, Energy Week, to discuss, among other things, research Rucroft hopes will revolutionize the nuclear industry by gleaning high percentages of new energy production from nuclear waste, which is currently an unusable byproduct from less efficient reactors like the boiling water reactor at Vermont Yankee. Now, this is a process that could not only provide the state with enough energy to last more than a century, but one that could dispense with the nuclear waste currently lying dormant in places like Wrinn as well.
The coolant that you use, you always have to have a coolant. Instead of using water like reactors that people use nowadays, you use liquid lead as the coolant. And that has the advantage that you can dissolve a lot of stuff in the liquid lead, including nuclear waste. The nuclear waste is converted, transformed into non-dangerous. It's still nuclear waste, but it's not as dangerous.
Move on now and continue checking in with news from the surrounding towns. That's right, the B in BCTV stands for Brattleboro, of course, but there are 7 other towns in the surrounding area we serve, including Vernon, Guilford, Dummerston, Putney, Newfane, Townsend, and Jamaica. We cover select board meetings in each and every one of those towns. That's how we get our news clips as well. So next up, we'll head to Dummerston, where drama surrounding Renaud Inc.'s Dummerston gravel pit continues, as last week accounts from neighboring residents dominated the town's regularly scheduled board meeting, with those living in close proximity to the gravel pit providing their accounts of the impact from blasting at the gravel pit, describing shaking walls and falling picture frames, an occurrence residents fear will only get more pronounced as blasting expands outward toward Renaud's property line edge, moving ever closer to the homes in question.
So it wasn't just another minor, did that really happen? I not only felt the house shake again, but literally the ceiling beams creaked.
All of a sudden this bang, the house shook, my lampshades rattled, and I thought it was an earthquake because there was no whistle. So I thought, oh, I better get out of the house.
They can measure and feel what's going on. They might be able to figure out how to address the issue more. Mike Renaud explained to me that he was wanted to do the right thing. Yeah.
First approved under a cloud of controversy last spring, the Dummerston gravel pit survived a round of skepticism in the state's environmental courts after changes to the type of equipment, hours of operation, and maximum acceptable noise levels were altered to accommodate those living in close proximity. Now, at the project's original Act 250 hearing, project manager Corey Freese discussed the plans that Renaud Inc. had to improve how area residents were impacted by the gravel pit and how the design firm planned to address those concerns. It's all part of a 545 Live recap we've got for you now, which includes footage from the pit's original DRB site visit along with that Act 250 hearing.
This is the site visit for the proposed gravel pit hearing. This is strictly for information only. This is kind of like show and tell.
And that there does it for our June 27th, 2014 edition of 545 Live. Thanks for sticking with us through the full program. We'll see you next week right here on BCTV, Comcast Cable Channel 8 for another edition. In the meantime, thanks for watching.
Even worse, we have to go through puberty while learning about puberty. We have to be avidly and constantly texting.
But the challenges we've faced have helped us grow. For example, I failed my driver's license test. Did I let that define me? No. I used that failure, and I turned it into a college essay.